You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken Tech for your ears.
Amazon delivery drivers in Japan are getting paid in crypto, and it has nothing to do with trading. Let me explain.
It really is wild when you look at the scale of it.
It is, right. I mean, I host Vocal Technologist, and we need to get into the guts of how blockchain is just quietly swallowing real-world infrastructure.
Because it's happening entirely under the radar.
Exactly. Like, if you look past the whole speculative crypto casino thing, you see a completely different picture. We're looking at the actual plumbing of global finance here. We're talking artificial intelligence agents acting with their own wallets, and the messy, sometimes very dangerous physical reality of digital wealth.
Yeah, people assume the industry is just internet forums and meme tokens. But the foundational layer, the actual settlement infrastructure, has fundamentally shifted. The sheer scale of adoption by traditional institutions is staggering.
Right, so we should probably start with the physical world of logistics and legacy finance, just to prove this tech isn't only for niche online communities anymore.
Good place to start.
Look at AZCom Marua. They're Amazon's largest delivery partner in Japan. And they've started paying 2,300 carriers and drivers in JPYC.
Which is a yen-backed stablecoin.
Right. So we're talking about real enterprise payroll at a massive logistics scale, not just some kids trading coins in a basement.
And the engine behind that move is Japan's amended Payment Services Act. That legislation specifically legitimized yen-pegged tokens.
It gave them a proper foundation.
Exactly. It created a legal framework where corporate entities actually feel safe using them. So we're looking at everyday corporate payroll using digital rails. It's entirely separate from the decentralized finance trading that usually dominates the headlines.
Yeah, and it isn't just logistics in Japan either. Like, the biggest financial pipes in the world are switching over.
Oh, absolutely. Visa launched a stablecoin platform specifically designed for its network. We're talking over 200 million merchants and 15,000 financial institutions.
That is a massive network.
Right, and they're integrating tokens like OpenUSD, USDC, and USDG directly into their existing payment and treasury workflows.
So for people who don't know, what exactly are those?
Think of them as digital bearer instruments. They're fiat-backed tokens sitting on public ledgers rather than just numbers in a closed bank database.
Right, okay.
And meanwhile, infrastructure providers like Marqeta and ZeroHash are launching stablecoin-linked cards targeting massive existing clients. We're talking about companies the size of Uber and Square. Even Bank of America appointed new global heads specifically for digital assets and AI transformation.
It's like finding out the city council quietly replaced all your dodgy lead water pipes with PNIC overnight. Like, the water tastes exactly the same, but the delivery mechanism is totally different.
That is a great way to put it.
But let me push back a bit here, because I really want to suss out the actual benefit. Why go to all the trouble of using stablecoins instead of just, regular bank transfers for those delivery drivers?
Well, settlement speed and friction are the core bottlenecks in legacy finance. With traditional banking, you deal with batch processing, weekend delays, public holidays, and there's significant friction if any of that money needs to move across borders.
Oh, yeah. International transfers are a nightmare.
Right. The SWIFT system, for example, involves multiple correspondent banks. Each one takes a cut and adds processing time. But stablecoins offer instant verifiable settlement. The transaction clears immediately, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So no waiting for Monday morning for the bank to open.
Exactly. For a massive logistics network managing thousands of independent contractors, removing that payment friction translates into an incredible operational advantage.
Yeah, that makes heaps of sense. It completely removes the lag. Like, you do the work, you get paid instantly, and the company doesn't need a massive accounting department reconciling batch payments every Tuesday.
Spot on.
The back-end logistics of corporate payroll are definitely shifting. But if we look at the retail side for a second, Robinhood Chain topped $430 million in total value locked. Now, to be fair, 80% of that volume is still just people trading meme coins. It still feels like a bit of a casino on the surface.
The meme coins drive early volume, sure. They stress test the network. But the real long-term differentiator is tokenized real-world assets.
Right, the RWAs.
Yes.
Yeah.
The infrastructure is being laid for something much more substantial. For instance, the NVIDIA USDG pool is already the largest pool on that network.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And looking at the broader market, platforms like Coinbase and their Layer 2 network, Base, are preparing to launch tokenized equities. And these are backed one-to-one by real shares.
Which is completely different from those old derivative-based stock tokens we used to see, right? Like with tokenized equities, you actually have the real asset sitting on the blockchain.
Exactly. It scales infinitely better regarding trust and capital efficiency. Institutional players need that exact verifiable backing before they commit heavy capital.
Because they aren't going to trust some random exchanges spreadsheet.
Right. You aren't trusting a centralized broker's internal ledger. You hold a cryptographic receipt that represents a real-world share, and it's auditable by anyone in real time.
So you've got Wall Street piping stablecoins to human contractors, but blockchains don't actually care if the user has a pulse.
No, they don't.
Which brings us to this thesis from Franklin Templeton. They argue that autonomous AI agents are the actual killer use case for crypto rails. And I have to admit, my first reaction reading that was, are you having a lend?
It sounds absurd at first.
It does. You're telling me an AI is booking a table at a restaurant and paying the deposit with its own wallet? That sounds like a sci-fi nightmare.
I get that. But the logistics of machine automation make it inevitable. Autonomous AI agents don't have human passports. They can't pass a Know Your Customer identity check. They can't walk into a branch to open a traditional bank account. Yet, if we want them to perform complex, multi-step tasks, they need to pay each other. They need to pay for computing resources.
So they need money that doesn't care who they are.
Exactly. They require programmable, permissionless money.
Because legacy finance was built for humans with physical identities. Like, a credit card relies on a billing address and a credit score, neither of which a piece of software actually possesses.
This is where emerging payment protocols like BUY-402 come into play. A smart contract doesn't ask for identification.
It just checks if the math is right.
Basically, yeah. If an AI agent holds a cryptographic private key, it is a financially sovereign actor on that network. The BUY-402 protocol essentially standardizes how these machines request services and stream micropayments to each other.
Streaming micropayments, that's wild.
We're already seeing services where AI agents use USDC to execute real-world tasks. An agent can purchase cited property reports, run blockchain analytics via platforms like Arkham, or even interface with systems like Resy to book a restaurant.
Okay, so the blockchain serves as the native financial infrastructure for this whole agent economy.
Yes.
So the AI has its own wallet, it gets a task, realizes it needs data from another AI, pays that AI instantly in stablecoins, gets the data, and finishes the task for you. I mean, that is heaps more efficient than asking me for a credit card every 5 seconds.
It changes everything.
But it goes deeper than just spending money, doesn't it? It changes how these AI models are actually powered in the first place.
It leads us directly into a concept called inference farming.
Right.
AI compute requires massive amounts of GPU power. Inference, which is the actual process of an AI generating a response, is the primary dynamic variable cost for AI operators.
It's incredibly expensive.
Very. But right now, decentralized inference networks like Dolphin AI are undercutting centralized providers. They're pricing compute roughly 30% lower.
And this is where the crypto incentive model actually comes in. Like, instead of the old yield farming where you staked a random token just to get more of a random token, this is grounded in physical hardware.
Exactly. People are renting out their idle GPUs to these decentralized networks in exchange for yield. They contribute actual physical compute power.
So anyone with the hardware can plug in.
Right. It democratizes the base layer of artificial intelligence. It means the infrastructure required to run the next generation of digital services is distributed, rather than being hoarded by a few massive server farms.
That is a massive shift. You turn AI from this heavily guarded, centralized monopoly controlled by a few tech giants into a decentralized, dynamic marketplace. Compute just becomes a commodity that anyone can trade or provide. Hey, if you are keen on untangling more of this stuff as it happens, make sure you hit subscribe.
It fundamentally changes the economics of the internet. When compute becomes a liquid commodity priced dynamically on-chain, innovation scales much faster.
Right, but I want to shift the energy down a bit here, because while the tech is reaching these absolute sci-fi levels of efficiency, the human and political elements attached to it are getting incredibly messy and, frankly, dangerous.
The physical risks are very real.
Yeah, I was looking at this report from CERT. They recorded 52 verified physical attacks on crypto holders in just a 6-month period. Over $124 million was stolen through physical violence.
It's alarming.
That is terrifying. It's the ultimate collision of digital wealth and physical vulnerability.
The abstraction of digital assets doesn't protect you from physical world threats, unfortunately. Criminal tactics are shifting aggressively. Home invasions have entirely displaced kidnappings as the primary attack method for cryptocurrency theft.
Because you don't need to hold someone for ransom if you can just force them to unlock a hardware ledger right there in their living room.
Exactly. And Europe accounted for the vast majority of these cases. France alone saw 33 incidents.
Why France specifically?
The driving factor behind that concentration tied directly to massive data breaches. Those breaches connected real-world identities and physical home addresses to visible on-chain wealth signals.
Oh man. So the criminals could literally look at a public blockchain, see a wallet holding millions of dollars, and then cross-reference a leaked e-commerce database to find exactly where that person sleeps.
Yes, the situation escalated to the point where French authorities had to deploy a rapid alert system. It eventually resulted in 200 arrests.
That is intense.
It is. It highlights why security firms desperately recommend multi-signature wallets. A multi-sig setup requires multiple different private keys to authorize a transaction.
So one key isn't enough.
Right. And by keeping those signers in entirely separate physical locations, a single home invasion can't result in the total loss of funds. You just cannot treat a digital wallet holding millions like a regular physical wallet in your pocket.
Yeah, it's a brutal reminder that we still live in physical bodies. And while all this is happening on the ground, the government response just seems completely gridlocked. Like, nobody seems to know how to properly regulate the plumbing.
The regulatory friction is intense right now. In the United States, regulators completely missed the Genius Act deadline for finalizing stablecoin rules.
Just missed it entirely.
Completely. This leaves massive structural questions unanswered, like the unresolved 20% cap on tokenized reserve assets. Industry players are forced to operate in a persistent state of regulatory limbo.
And the Clarity Act is also stalled, right? That piece of legislation seems entirely bogged down in political ethics disputes.
It is. The friction revolves around ethics rules for federal officials. Republicans drafted a rule handing enforcement to the Department of Justice to bar federal officials from issuing digital assets.
Okay.
But Democrats strongly oppose the bill as it's currently written. They specifically cite ethics concerns tied to Donald Trump's financial ties to his meme coins and his involvement with World Liberty Financial.
So a major piece of market structure legislation just remains completely stalled by partisan conflict over ethics enforcement. I mean, we're just reporting the facts of the gridlock there, but it clearly shows how deeply political the technical infrastructure has become.
It really have.
And it isn't just domestic policy either. The international bodies are getting extremely nervous too.
Oh, definitely. The Bank for International Settlements, the BIS, issued a very stark warning. They noted that the massive supply of USD stablecoins, which sits at $292.6 billion, effectively evades international capital controls.
Right, because it doesn't cross a physical border.
Exactly. For emerging market policymakers, this represents a structural crisis. Stablecoin-driven dollarization bypasses local banking restrictions completely.
Wow.
Once decentralized digital dollars take hold in an economy, the BIS warns it's incredibly difficult to reverse. Citizens just opt out of their hyperinflating local currency entirely.
Well, if governments can't control the decentralized stablecoins, they're obviously going to build their own restricted versions, aren't they?
That's exactly what's happening. Look at South Korea. They're scaling up a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, pilot to 500,000 users.
500,000 people, that's a massive pilot program.
It is, but the mechanics of it are where the controversy lies. They're testing programmable tokens, specifically for government subsidy disbursements.
Okay, so welfare payments and things like that.
Yes, and these tokens come with built-in spending restrictions, hard-coded directly into the contract.
Ah, so the government can hard code exactly what you're allowed to buy with your subsidy. Like, they can whitelist groceries but blacklist alcohol right at the token level.
Precisely. And because it operates on a centralized architecture, where commercial banks distribute tokens issued by the central bank, every single transaction creates a logged record.
A permanent record for the government.
Yes. That data remains fully accessible to central authorities. It raises massive privacy concerns. You're basically trading the permissionless, pseudonymous nature of a decentralized stablecoin for a highly surveilled, restricted government token.
It's the absolute opposite of the AI agents using by 402 to transact freely. It's a battle between open, programmable networks and closed, heavily monitored state ledgers.
It really is two completely different visions for the future.
And this tension really highlights how the old guard of this industry is fading out. The whole Wild West era of chaotic freedom and insane leverage is literally shutting its doors.
A perfect symbol of that transition is BitMEX. BitMEX popularized the 100x leverage perpetual swap. They really defined that early era of hyper-speculative, unregulated trading.
Oh yeah, BitMEX was the absolute engine room of early crypto chaos. It was where the most aggressive traders went to either make a fortune or get completely liquidated in about 2 minutes.
Well, after 11 years, they're permanently shutting down following a failed sale process. The board completed a strategic review, and they're closing up shop.
Just walking away.
Yeah. And users who leave their assets on the platform past the closure date will actually be slapped with ongoing fees just to force an orderly unwind. The market is demanding maturity, and the pure speculative casinos are struggling to find a place in the new infrastructure-focused environment.
It really is the end of an era, but it isn't like the newer decentralized platforms have figured everything out perfectly either. They're maturing, but it's a bit ordinary underneath the surface. Like I saw this Dune Analytics study that looked at decentralized finance, and the inefficiency is just staggering.
The Dune study on concentrated liquidity is incredibly revealing, yeah. They found that 85% of concentrated DeFi liquidity sits completely underutilized.
Let's break down concentrated liquidity for a second because it sounds like pure finance jargon.
Sure.
In older decentralized exchanges, if you wanted to provide trading funds, your capital was spread out across every possible price from 0 to infinity, which was incredibly inefficient.
Yeah.
But concentrated liquidity lets you specify a price range. You can say, I only want my money used for trades between $3,000 and $3,500, which, in theory, earns you higher fees.
In theory, yes. But the data shows that individual human users are terrible at managing this.
Really?
Yeah, the capital falls out of the active trading range as market prices move, and it just sits there, idle.
Idle capital doing nothing. So if the price drops to $2,000, your money is completely stuck out of range. How much money are they actually losing out on?
The study estimates users miss out on roughly $150 million in foregone fees annually because their assets are out of range.
$150 million.
Yes. Humans simply cannot monitor and manually adjust their positions fast enough to compete with algorithmic market movements.
$150 million left on the table just because humans can't manually drag and drop their positions 24 hours a day.
It proves a larger point about where the technology sits right now. We're in an awkward teenage phase.
How so?
Well, the foundational settlement rails, the base layer 1 blockchains like Ethereum, the faster layer 2 scaling networks, and the stablecoins themselves, they're built and they work flawlessly. They process billions of dollars securely. But the human applications running on top of them are still incredibly inefficient.
It really is an awkward teenage phase. The plumbing handles trillions of dollars instantly, but we're still fumbling around trying to manually adjust our positions and losing millions in the process. It seems like the only entities truly capable of maximizing this infrastructure aren't human at all.
Exactly. As we integrate these mature settlement rails with the rise of autonomous AI agents and automated smart contracts, the trajectory points to a fundamentally different paradigm.
It's kind of a heavy thought.
It is. Imagine a world where the vast majority of global financial transactions occur seamlessly between machines. Machines that don't sleep, don't feel, don't make manual data entry errors, and absolutely don't care about human borders. The question we have to ask ourselves is, what happens to human economic influence when we become the minority participants in our own financial system?
That is a brilliant and honestly slightly terrifying thought. Within a few years, I reckon we won't even realize we're using blockchain. It'll just be the invisible plumbing running the background of our entire lives, managing our agents and our assets without us lifting a finger. If you want to keep tracking where this all goes next, you know where to find us. Vocal Technologist. See you soon.
Spoken Tech for your ears.